Hey guys, here we are, the Quiggin Out MMA Podcast, episode 73. Yes, I can't believe we're on 73 already. And if you're looking at the screen right now, you see two very familiar people who were on one of the earlier episodes, which I went back and watched earlier and was, oh gosh, I had so much to learn. So please welcome back friends of the show, Matt and AJ Marsden. How you guys doing?
Great, man. How are you doing?
Pretty good. So like I said, it's been 3 years since we've had you on the show. And I mean, as we all know, a lot has changed. So kind of tell me, like, what have you guys been doing these last 3 years? Because that's a lot to catch up on because we've got time.
Well, I mean, so that was like a COVID. So we did some cool stuff in Japan. AJ was the first female cut person to ever work professional MMA in Japan in that period of time. So that was pretty cool.
I mean, nobody can ever take that away from you either.
No.
That's the best part about that.
Yeah, and she actually, I think during that same time period, I think she also picked up that same title in France, I want to say. Yeah. So like she's like way more in the history books than I'll ever be. So those are some of the highlights, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there was a lot of adaptability going on with COVID, and then like our shows being with no audience and not having fans there for a little while, like that was weird. So there was a lot of like things to, adjust to. And then when the fans finally came back, how exciting that was and how happy we were to have people there again. So
and right when we had you on the show, when you were on the show last time, I keep saying we, like I've got a crowd of people behind me.
It's the royal we.
It's the royal we. Oh man. You got me going already. But I know, AJ, you had just kind of like dipped your foot into the cut man aspect. And I know we were kind of talking about, like, do we call you cut man, cut woman, cut person? And you really, just like Matt just said, you put yourself in the history books. Like, what does that mean to you?
It means a lot. I mean, this was never anything that I thought I was going to do. So to be able to say that I did it is really exciting. But it's also really cool because it's something that Matt and I have been able to do together. So he taught me, he took the time out of his really busy schedule to teach me how to wrap hands, for example. Like, I didn't really know anything about hand wrapping before. Like, I'd watched him and I'd attempted it, but like, I didn't know the theory behind it. So he sat me down, he's like, this is why we do it. And if you get a hand that breaks this way, that means that your wrap was, incorrect in this way. And so he took a lot of time to really teach me that. And not only do I appreciate it, but I think it's that extra time that he spent with me that kind of helped propel me in this career.
Yeah, and again, a career you never thought you'd be in.
Exactly,
and Matt, you and I have talked about the hand wrapping and how fighters have come back to you and been like, you wrapped my hand wrong, and be like, no, it was broken before. It was broken.
Yeah, that's definitely happened.
And I remember exactly who that was too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's happened more than once, unfortunately, since then. But most of the time, I will say now, it's not like a blame game. It's more like, hey, don't feel bad about it. It was already broken. Like, I'll get more of that because I'm like, oh, yeah, I broke that 3 weeks ago. Don't worry about it. I just didn't want to tell anybody. And I'm like, well, still don't tell anybody because the commission will retroactively suspend you for lying on your medical. So please shut your mouth.
And then you feel bad, like you said, their hand breaks, and you're like, did I wrap it too tight? Did I do something wrong? And I'm like, that's your workmanship out there. That's your product, your work product. Something we really didn't get to talk about, and I know now we can. And that's my UFC joke of the night. How do you guys feel about BKFC? Like, how do you feel about? Yeah, I knew that would get.
So I will admit, we both watch every one of them. We watch the hell out of them. Would I work one? I'm not exactly sure. They're fun to watch, but I'm not exactly.
I would not want. I think Matt would do just fine. I think he'd be great. I would not want to do that.
There's definitely. On their prelims and their TV cards, there's definitely a very wide skills gap. And it's a wide enough skills gap that it actually bothers me a little bit that they're putting people in, definitely on the prelims, that probably shouldn't be in any kind of ring yet, let alone one as dangerous as bare knuckle boxing. And so that would be my big criticism of them, and probably why, just from like more of like a moral standpoint, I probably wouldn't work one. But as far as watching them, yeah, you can have my $10. I'll watch that. I mean, it's entertaining.
It is.
There have been people that I personally knew that they gave fights to, and I'm like, that guy has not trained a real day in his life, and I'm not quite sure how he conned anyone into putting him there. And so, yeah, so that I do have a problem with, because obviously they're not exactly being subjective in their match. Did I use that right? Subjective? Or objective? Objective. They're not being objective in their matchmaking.
That's the doctor. And I'm the same way, and I've talked about it on the show, and like, I think probably 5 of the last 7 guests I had on the show were all BKFC fighters. And I just remember the first time I heard a knuckle hit a skull, and I was like, that was the worst sound on the planet. Like, that was absolutely the worst thing ever. And I couldn't look away. And I think you're right. It is entertaining. There's no room
from a combat sports aspect, though. Like, fine, it's fine. I just want the people that go in there to be the right people, like trained, realistically knowing what they're getting into, as opposed to somebody off the street that thinks that this is, you know, a video game. Or I mean,
and they never then even.
I mean, there's definitely some people that have stepped on those prelims that have just been like, yeah, I don't have to train, bro. I just see red. Like, I already know that they're those types. I can tell by the way they're fighting, man. I know you haven't actually done pad work with anybody. I know you've never sparred.
I don't need to do pad work. I'm just gonna punch this pole a bunch of times. Like,
so that's really my only issue personally. It's just that I want to make sure that the skill level of the fighter stays up. But other than that, go nuts, knock that shit out of each other. Like, I'm perfectly fine with it.
It's the 2-minute rounds, man. They don't give you time to mess around. You're just like, all right, go.
Yeah, I like that.
Yep.
Like, I actually quite like that. Like, a shorter round creates more of a sense of urgency.
Yep.
And I'm always for that. I really like what John Wayne Parr kind of pioneered it, but I think ONE FC is picking it up now, is like bare knuckle Muay Thai in the cage, basically. And I'm like, yeah, you can show me all of that you want. Yeah, like, I will watch that all day long.
Definitely.
So, especially if it's somebody at the skill level of John Wayne Parr.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. we went to the BKFC fights in Orlando. It was BKFC 53. Don't quote me if I'm wrong, somebody. Or if you do, put it in the comments so I can show that you're watching. And then we literally went to Buffalo Wild Wings, and I pulled up like my tablet, and we were watching the ONE FC fights. So
nice.
Not that I didn't have enough, violence for one night.
Yeah, there's never enough. That's why they give us so much.
Yeah. Well, and that was the fun part about like the last show. I had Jafar Ford on. He's 3-0 in BKFC, but I watched that guy fight outside of a tilted kilt in Clearwater 10 years ago.
Nice.
And
those are the real roots of the sport, right there. Like,
it's weird when you think back. So like 10 years ago, like think about what you were doing 10 years ago. The fighters who were relevant, the organizations that were relevant. And I mean, that kind of takes us into the next one, the whole Bellator purchase or PFL purchase of Bellator. I know you're like,
No. I knew it was coming. Like, I'm prepared for this.
I don't want to be that guy, but I'm that guy.
It's okay.
What was that like for you guys? Because I mean, you guys became the standouts. Like, I'd watch the Bellator cards really just to see the two of you. Like,
thank you.
It was so cool to see, because I was like, as soon as AJ started getting in more and more, and you guys were traveling all over the world, and Lucas, that's right.
Lucas,
getting all those like behind the pictures, like behind the scenes pictures, like, and all that stuff was so much fun to watch. Yeah. So, what was it like to have that particular part of the journey come to? I don't want to call it a screeching halt or an end, because we don't know what's next for you. But what was it like for that chapter to close?
I don't know. You go ahead first, I guess.
I don't know. Like it happened. It seemed to happen fast but slow somehow. Like,
that's true. Yeah.
We heard about it back. There was like rumors of it, April, May, kind of, and it was like, well, maybe not. The financing doesn't seem. So it just seemed to drag on and on and on. So it was.
We heard next week for like 8 months.
Yeah.
We'll know next week, and that was definitely rough.
Yeah. So that was just like, well, should we should we bother? What should we do? So, but then once they kind of ironed everything out, then it seemed to.
Yeah, then it was fast, and it was like, it was final. It was like all of a sudden. Honestly, my biggest regret was the between Bellator 300 and 301, we didn't have a real sense of whether or not 301 was even going to happen. So it made 300 like an emotionally confusing show because nobody knew if it was the last show or not. And
I mean, that would have been the better thing to do, but
Yeah, and but we'd already had 301 even on the books.
Mm-hmm.
Like we had all the hotels booked and everything.
Yeah.
And so it was like, are we not? I was actually told at one point in time that we would not, that it was like definitely not going to happen. And it like, hey, that's the end. Like, thanks for your service. Bye. And then it did happen. So like that part of it was a real back and forth. But so I do regret that it kind of got jerked around there at the end a little bit. But nothing's ever clean and a takeover like this.
No.
So.
It's a hostile takeover, but at the same time, like I joke about it, but I mean, that's how we met. That's how we've developed this friendship, over these years. And I've said it before, but I was like, you guys have invited me to your house, like we've hung out, like it's been like one of those things where it's like I'm thankful for that. So I just wanted to thank you for that, and I'll thank Bellator,
man. And it'll continue despite anything that happens with anything moving forward. I mean, that's
whatever happens.
Well, yeah, you can't get rid of me now.
Yeah. You're in there like a tech.
Exactly.
Listen, the moment I said industrial organizational psychology, and you're like, AJ does that, and I was like, I'm sorry, what? I'm like 2% of the population, and I found somebody who actually does it. Like,
exactly.
But it has been a weird thing, and MMA has been a weird game lately to the point where I can't believe I'm saying this on an MMA podcast, but I'm losing interest.
I understand that, and you're not the only one I've heard say that. I mean, I would say even myself, I've lost some interest just because of the sheer just volume. And I feel that because of the high volume, the quality is going down. It can't help but. There are people main eventing UFC fight nights on ESPN that wouldn't have been on the undercard of a UFC 10 years ago.
No.
And so like I mean, sorry to be the asshole there, but it's just oversaturated and I would rather see less but better,
Yeah, and you look back to like the UFC like 40, 41, 42, 43, like around that time. And it's like Tito Ortiz was on every card.
Yeah.
And I'm like, because they were 3 or 4 months apart. Like that couldn't happen now.
No. Absolutely. Well, now, I mean, fighters complain that they don't hardly fight enough. I'm only fighting once a year because everybody else needs a go. Yeah. I mean, we've even had that problem at Bellator. I mean, anybody that really pays attention to our undercards notes that towards the end of the year, man, those undercards go from being about 10 fights to about 20 fights because we're trying to like knock out contracts that we owe people contract fights, So it's always been kind of like that, I guess.
Yeah.
At least in the modern era. It's like AEW. If you look at them, they have like their core stable right now because they're so new. There's like certain people that are just going to be on every show over there because they don't have the roster of WWE.
Yeah, I love that you brought that into that because I will watch AEW. Like
I watch AEW. Yeah.
Dude, I love watching Sting wrestle again. I'm not even gonna lie. Like the man's 64 and went through 2 tables a few months ago. And I was like, I'm half your age, and I would not do that.
I would not do that. No. Well, I just can't believe. I was actually saying it to somebody today. I can't believe Ric Flair just feels like he's everywhere all of a sudden again. Like I can't open any type of media without Ric Flair showing up in the last like month or so. I don't know what's going on. But man, the man is everywhere, and he's having a good time. It seems like too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's the thing, because everyone's like, oh, you're going to wrestle Sting. And he's like, do I want to get back in there? Yeah. Should I? Probably not. I mean, at least the man is honest with himself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Ric Flair's ever lacked honesty.
No.
No.
Maybe a little too much.
Yeah, maybe a little too much. But it's it's what we talk about, the oversaturation. And I feel like even with AEW, finally, I would say coming into their own, but at the same time, turn on WWE and then don't watch it for 6 months. And you'll turn it back on and it's the same people with the same storyline. And I was like, and it's the same thing now. We talk about, oh, when's Connor coming back? When's Connor coming back? And I was like, why? We don't need it. We don't.
This reliance on name recognition has been a problem. I mean, we suffered from it at Bellator. I mean, come on, look at some of our past main events there. We've definitely gone name recognition over a quality fight before. So it plagues everyone to an extent. I don't get it. I would much rather. I loved being able to watch someone like Michael Chandler come up.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And he didn't start with name recognition. You pick up what I'm putting down here. But
developing talent.
We've talked about Chandler on the show. I know. Talk about it what extent. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
I know. I used him as an example for a reason. But watching talent develop will always be more fun.
Yeah.
If you know what you're looking at, I think.
Yeah.
But if you don't know, and I have no problem with the casual fan, they make up the majority of our fans. But if you don't know, name recognition is always going to be like, oh, hey, Gracie, Royce Gracie. No, I've heard of that guy. Yeah. Oh, he's fighting. Okay. They have no concept that man is 700 years old. Okay. They all they know is they've heard of him. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, and like, man, if I were a marketing exec, I'd probably do the same damn thing. So I don't even blame them.
Well, again, it's funny you brought up, Gracie. I had the pleasure of meeting him, and he was one of the funniest guys I've ever met.
Yeah.
And I know you guys spent a lot of time with him. So give me your best Hoist story. Like, what's the story that you're like, oh my God, I can't believe he did this?
Well, see, the problem is that the best Hoist story is not one that can be told in public.
All right, the second best Hoist story.
Second best Hoist story. So actually, I have a good one. You remember the cheese thing in the pasta?
Oh, yeah.
So we were in Italy, and we were all at dinner, and Hoist got a white pasta dish. I'm not exactly sure. Oh, it was lobster. It was lobster. I'm sorry, it wasn't a white pasta. So it was lobster. And lobster with like a little bit of pasta on the side. And we're in Florence specifically. And he asked the waiter, he's like, hey, come over here. And the waiter's like, yeah, what can I do for you? And he's like, can you put some cheese on this? And the waiter's like, yeah, basically like he's in an Olive Garden. And the waiter's like, cheese. And Hoist is like, yeah. And he's like, on lobster. And Hoist is like, yeah.
Yeah.
And the waiter goes, really? And Hoist is like, yeah. And he wouldn't do it. We had to get the manager. The manager had to come over and put that cheese on there because that waiter refused Royce Gracie's cheese request on his lobster.
He's like, no.
Yeah, he's like, not gonna fucking do it. Not gonna do it. That chef worked really hard on that, and you're about to blow it up, and I'm not gonna let you do that. So it was just absolutely hilarious that this waiter was. I'll never forget it when he was like, really, really, you put cheese on your lobster. So there's our most publicly available Hoist story.
Yeah, and I mean that's the best kind of story. And that I thought he was gonna ask for red wine. I was like, oh God, here it comes.
No, it just I do remember I was rolling with his son Connery one time, and Connery is heads and tails above anywhere I'll ever be as far as jiu-jitsu ability. And I remember I had just gotten subbed, and Hoist wasn't exactly watching, but he realized that we reset. Now that's an important aspect of the story. He didn't watch what happened. He only knew that we reset ourselves. Okay. He looks at Connery and he goes, how'd you get him? All right. He didn't know that Connery, he didn't see me tap. He didn't do anything. He just looks at Connery and he goes, he just knew Connery. If we were resetting, he knew that Connery had subbed me. And so, which he was correct. Connery was like, oh, triangle. And he was like, oh, okay, good. But it was just, how'd you get him? Hey, fuck you too, man. I might have got lucky.
I went to his seminar at Gracie HQ in Tampa, And I literally paid $90 to take pictures there because I was like, I want to be a part of this seminar, but I'm not rolling. Like, absolutely not. And I was still a white belt and I hadn't like committed yet. It was after that seminar that I was like, I need to do some shit. Like, let's go.
Be serious. Yeah.
Don't do it. It's like going to a revival back in the day. You found Jesus, you know? You went to a Royce seminar and you found jujitsu.
I found a reason to love it again because I just remember seeing Royce and being like, this is like the person, like this is, and he wasn't the person who brought jujitsu, but it was the person everybody's going to associate with for the, we're at 25.
He's the person that sold it, to the masses. Yeah. So hey, Ray Kroc didn't start McDonald's, but he's the one that finished it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so he's the one that sold it.
But I just remember Royce going, "Use your other arm," and the guy goes, "What?" He goes, "Your other arm," and the guy goes, "Huh?" And Royce walks over. He goes, "I said use your other," and he like lifts the guy.
Yes.
But I remember, I've told this story, and I don't care if anybody's heard it before, but I'm sitting in a circle with my good buddy, Christopher James, Matt Arroyo, Rob Kahn, and Royce Gracie. And
you're in above your head there a little bit, buddy.
And I was like, I'm just going to listen. I'm like, don't say anything.
Yeah.
Don't say anything. And they're telling a story, and Rob Kahn's telling the story, and he starts making fun of Royce. And Royce just goes, "Fuck you, Hobby," and he pushes him. He falls over, and he gets back up, and he pushes Royce. And I was like, "Oh, you can't do that." And everyone in the circle looked at me, and I was like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to say that out loud."
Royce is like, "Listen to the man, you can't do that."
Yeah, like, you can't. But it's changed so much. I'm like, probably the last 6 months I've been lazy. I won't lie about that, training, but I went a couple weeks ago and I was like, man, I miss this. I was like, but the people I used to beat up are beating me up.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah, that happens with the breaks, Yeah. So take that as motivation too.
Yeah.
You just be like, oh well, I can't let that happen again.
Well,
you gotta have that one person at your gym that you refuse to ever submit to. That's kind of our joke. Like, we have, I have like the one guy, like, I will never tap to you. I will die before I ever let you feel my hand 3 times, So that's my motivation sometimes. It's like, oh, that person's starting to catch up to me. I gotta go. I better speed up.
Yeah. And what's really funny is like normalizing not rolling with people. Because there's
I think that's perfectly fine. Rolling is a partnership, and if you don't want to roll with somebody, you should be free to say no.
Yep.
You should always feel comfortable saying no.
Yeah.
Whether that's an injured, hey man, my knee's messed up. You're a little bit heavier than I want to deal with right now. Like, it doesn't matter what the reason. You should never even have to explain yourself. No is no.
You just don't want to.
Hey man, want to roll? Nope. Okay. Moving on.
Yep.
No, it happened once where I was like, they were like, "Oh, Quiggins, come here," and I was like, "No," and everybody saw me say no. And my professor was like, "Hey, is everything okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's just like, even when I'm not like giving him resistance, like he like takes my knee and smashes it down." And I'm like, no, literally no resistance for guard pass, and I still get hurt. And I was like,
and that's not good for anybody. Like,
no,
he's not actually improving anything. You're certainly not improving anything. You're likely getting injured, and the gym owner is going to lose 1, maybe 2 students over this. Like, it behooves everyone for you to say no.
Yeah, and this was years ago too, and so it was like I learned to have those conversations with people. Be like, this is why I'm not going to roll with you.
That's great, and especially if you want to, like, in long term, if you have an issue. But I just don't. Like, I'm for taking it that next step. Normalize not needing to explain yourself either. Like,
if you say no,
there's a lot of toxic bullshit in jujitsu, and a lot of people are attracted to jujitsu because they're attracted to like hierarchical power structures, and they like that belt gives them a title. And so, just because you're a black belt doesn't mean you're not an asshole. You've heard me say that before. And so, you may be a black belt, but if you're a fucking spaz on that mat and you hurt people, I'm going to tell you no. And if you have a problem with that, guess what? I'm a free American. I'm walking out the door. All right. That's as far as it needs to go. Like my ego is not dependent on whether or not I did well against another guy who has an ego problem at a thing I go paid to do.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I just won't go. So
That's simple.
I wish more people would just realize that this is a hobby, man. We're not out here. We're not samurai fucking warriors. You're never going to headline a UFC. I am 42 years old and I have both my knees still. Don't blow them out.
Yeah.
Okay. Like the large majority of us like take a lot of this stuff. You know what? If you do what David Goggins does, you know what you're going to get? Rhabdomyolysis and in the hospital. So don't do that shit. You know what I mean? Moderation is there for a reason. Use it, love it, know it.
Yes.
You know, like don't try and be, these people are outliers for a reason. Let them stay outliers. You need to come in somewhere near the middle. Okay, to be successful.
I think that's the most fun about talking to people from different walks of jiu-jitsu. You know, whether they got a black belt in 10 years, whether they got one in 15 years, you know, where they stand, because you've got certain black belts who are like, oh, I don't bow when I get on the mats. And I was like, what? Like, and it's just something
like,
for everybody.
We're purple belts. So just to make sure everybody in the audience, we're just purple belts. We're not black belts ourselves.
I'm just a blue belt.
I do bow when I get on the mat, but I would never expect anyone else to do it.
No.
I just started off in traditional martial arts and I think it fucking feels cool. That's all. Like, I like doing it.
It's respectful. Like,
It's fun.
I like it.
But then there's little nuances. It's like, don't tie your belt when facing. I was like, sorry, I'm gonna forget.
And I still won't do that, but like other people do that. And the first time I saw it, I was like,
like the first time I did it, he's like, no, you're not supposed to do that. And I was like, why?
Exactly. And it was like, actually, what? You're right. Do it. Who
Like,
cares?
why?
This is some mythical system where the black belt is like, shut up, man. That guy's 23. Like he's never had a real job in his life. I can tie my belt facing him. Okay.
You look over, he's just staring at you like, sorry.
Like, that guy's good at grappling. That's the only credential he has. I can tie my belt facing him. Okay.
I feel like I'm gonna get some hate mail after this one, and I don't care.
Might need to, but you know what? Like, then come to the gym and roll with me, and if you're really, really good, you'll win, and I'll bow to you or something. I don't know. We can make a bet on it. I don't care. Like, you know what? If you're the type of person to send hate mail about this, you're the exact type of person that's taking it too seriously that I'm talking about. So,
you guys
way to out yourself, guys. Way to write that angry email and be the angry Karen that we all knew you could be.
Doesn't that just seem like an antiquated statement now? That angry email, like
email. I mean, I guess we're older. We're elderly millennials. Send that angry Discord.
Yeah.
Come on, guys. Like hit
that angry fax.
Angry DM.
Yeah, go make an angry Reddit post about it, about how I said you can be an asshole and a black belt.
Oh my God. Do you guys still have your garage gym? I know you set it up for COVID.
Yeah, we love it, man. Full mat space.
Yeah.
We added some workout equipment to it. Like it just keeps growing at this point in time.
COVID helped with that. We're like, we need a treadmill. We need
we're like, let's get in on this. Now we have battle ropes and sandbags and everything in there. So
oh dear God.
Yeah.
Well, I know for a while you were bulking up and then you slimmed down like
very I mean, honestly, my blood pressure was getting out of control. For people at home that are like, oh, like just because you're exercising, you should still do your blood work.
Yeah.
And you know, I had blood pressure issues from the amount of weight I was carrying, and so we just luckily she has the heart of like a world-class cardio athlete with a resting heart rate, literally that causes alarm bells to go off when she goes to the doctor.
That's true.
Like,
ahead of time, like it's extremely low. My heart rate, my blood pressure is going to be really low. Don't be alarmed.
Yeah. So whereas mine is the opposite. The same alarms go off for the completely opposite reasons.
My running joke is, so me and my dad are not small guys. We're just not. You've met me, like I'm not a small guy. But every time I get my blood pressure taken, they take my blood pressure, they look at the numbers, they take the cuff off, they put the cuff back on, they do it again. They don't believe that I don't have high blood pressure or anything. But they'll look at me and be like,
really?
Something must be wrong.
Like, what's going on here? Yeah, it happens. I mean, it's just like that's their own bias. But if your numbers are good, your numbers are good. You know what I mean? That's all that really matters.
Yeah.
Like if you're not going to blow your heart up when you exert yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Let's go exercise. You know, I'm sure that their power lifter, like Eddie Hearn, the power lifter, I'm sure his blood work is better than mine, and his body fat percentage is definitely way higher than either of ours. But the man,
I love Eddie. I love watching all those guys, Brian Shaw, like all that stuff. Like,
I believe so.
That's entertaining.
I think Eddie is supposed to headline. I'm booked right now for the finishers card in Qatar in February. I'm supposed to go do that, and I believe Eddie might be. No, who am I thinking of? Have you heard about this card? It's all like power lifters and everything that are doing this card.
Hold on.
Finishers in Qatar. They're very new. They've made some really lofty promises, so we'll see how it goes. But I'm trying to think, who am I thinking of? But it should be interesting. Who's that?
Eddie Hall. Hold on.
Eddie Hall. Yeah, strongest man in the world. Eddie Hall. That's what I was thinking of. That's what I was thinking of. Eddie Hearn. Yeah. So that should be an interesting card. We'll see how it goes,
dude. But that's exciting. You're getting to go to Qatar. Like that's.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I'm 50-50 on if this card actually happens. Like I said, some lofty promises. I would really like it if it did. It's supposed to have John Wayne Parr on it as well.
Okay, so that's why. Okay.
Yeah. So
you're like, I'm not doing this. So like John Wayne Parr, you're like, I'm in.
Well, how can you say no to John? Right? Like nobody can say no to John. He's literally the nicest person on the planet. Like anybody that's met him is like it's like John Wayne Parr and Lucas Noonan, the photographer at Bellator you mentioned earlier, fight for that position of nicest person on the planet.
Yeah. And it's so funny because I had it like in that moment, I was like, I know who Lucas is. Like I've known about him for years, but in that moment I was like, Lucas, right? Like that's his thing. I felt so bad.
Yeah.
It's amazing what it's been able to do. Like you guys, you talked about all that travel. I know in Dubai a couple of years ago, I had a fighter, I won't say who, was supposed to fight like Floyd Mayweather on the top of a building in the middle of the desert. And he was like, I want you to come cover this. And I was like, there are some roadblocks that may come into play.
Yeah. Quite a few actually. So we'll see. Yeah, I'm in the same same roadblock situation. We'll see how it turns out.
I also thought it was funny that you brought up the bodybuilders, the strongest men, because the Arnold book is right here behind me. If you can't see it, I made sure it's strategically placed just for you.
Nice. Appreciate it.
So a few questions there. Did you watch the documentary?
Yes. The new 3-parter on Netflix. Yeah.
Yes.
Was it not brilliant? And you're
like, I loved it.
Yes.
I loved it. And I love his new, and if you're not subscribed, I would encourage everyone to go subscribe to his Pump Club newsletter. He sends a daily newsletter into your email. It's fantastic. It's really good. It's motivational. It has some like basic exercise and nutrition tips.
Yep.
Like it's not overwhelming. He sells something every once in a while, but it's not too bad.
It's not too bad.
So like
he doesn't give you discount codes for products.
Yeah. So
in that,
but like
push it.
I love that guy. Yeah. So
I do. You can't see it, but the Conquer poster, like the hand up is behind the screen here. Like it's know what? We're gonna do this for the first time ever. We're gonna
show that
it's up there.
Behind this. There it is. Nice.
Neat.
Yeah. And he's got a new book out, his 7 Rules for Life. So yeah, I definitely keep up on my Arnold
useful, so yeah. But that's what that is. So that's the new one. So I just started it a few weeks ago and I haven't read it. There's certain things in my like MMA books, Dwayne Finley, when he put his out in circa 2016, I literally read 16 of the 20 chapters in an afternoon. I couldn't put it down. But then with a book like this, I'm taking some of the principles and I'm applying it and I'm just waiting. Because I feel like if you read it too fast, you're just going to mess everything up. You're reading it just to finish it. You're not thinking about it. Right. Yeah, exactly.
So, read a chapter, think about how you can apply it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the psych major. There's processing here instead of just let me read because I can read a book and then you go, what was it about? I go, no. There was a guy. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a guy working out and he said I should be more useful or something.
I got to get up earlier or some shit.
Yeah. Oh, I got to get up early. Okay.
Sleep fast.
I also thoroughly enjoyed Fubar, and I know a lot of people gave it garbage, but if you watch
it, okay. It was fine. I mean, listen,
it was an 8-hour long Arnold movie. That's all it was.
Yeah, Arnold. Arnold's favorite comedian is Arnold, and I think if you know that going into it, you'll be
then you're
fine.
fine.
Like, it's fine.
Episode 5 was the best with Norm. Because when they brought, I was like, I'm not gonna spoil it for anybody, but that was the funniest scene in the entire show.
And I think it just got picked up for a second season, didn't it?
Oh, I would watch that again. I don't
thought
care.
so. Yeah, I was thinking. Yeah,
my favorite Arnold movies are the worst ones. Like,
where he's like remember when I killed you last? I lied. Like those kind of like one-liners that he came up with. They're phenomenal. They're phenomenal. Like, and they're so bad. They're so bad. Like, and that's what makes them. We were actually talking day before yesterday that one of the biggest pitfalls that Sylvester Stallone probably fell into was trying to be a comedic actor when he was such a legitimately good dramatic actor.
Yeah.
Like we were watching like the original Rambo First Blood where one person dies in the whole movie, by the way. It's a Rambo movie and only one person dies in the whole movie because back then it was meant to be a real movie and not just basically an action slasher. And they were like, when Sylvester tried to compete with Arnold and make like Stop or My Mom Will Shoot in those more funny comedies and those more like box office oriented comedies, as opposed to like Rocky and First Blood that were really like dramatic turns that were like an Academy Award nominee like contention, like he would have probably been remembered as like one of the greater actors of our generation. And I mean, it's not that he's doing bad or anything. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the man is paid and he's probably perfectly happy with that. But
he's just not really a comedic actor. The only comedy that I even really liked him in, and it wasn't because of him, it was because of Kurt Russell. It was Tango and Cash.
Tango and Cash, yeah. And that's because he had a great comedic actor to work off of. So like,
and that was what worked. And from what I understand, like when they did Rambo and they walked out of the theater when they saw it the first time, they were like, we got to pull this movie. Like they didn't think it was a good movie.
Yeah. Well, and the original, he commits suicide at the end.
Yeah.
Trigger warning. Sorry, people at home.
Yeah.
But he, that's the original ending of the book and Rambo is that John Rambo is cornered in the woods and commits suicide. And it was meant to be this big, like examination of like PTSD and, how it really looked like and how it ended. And then they said, but do you want to make $1 billion with a sequel instead? And they said he can live. And then we have what we ended up with.
We ended up with Rambo 2.
But from a psychology standpoint, like in the original Rambo movie, his basically his flashback and breakdown in the last 10 minutes of the movie when he's with Colonel Trauman is like it is super realistic. It is insanely realistic. And he went from that to like I said earlier, Stop or My Mom Will Shoot.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, you can't be Arnold.
No. Like you were a dramatic actor.
You're a dramatic actor. Arnold is a comedic action star.
Yeah.
Well, and that was what Arnold was. And I love what he said. I don't know if it was in the documentary. I think it was in the book. And he says, there's a line in there. He goes, I paid for acting classes. He goes, I even paid to have my accent removed. And in parentheses, it just said, and I want my money back.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, some of his best jokes are based off of the fact that he says them the way he does with his accent.
Yeah.
That's California. I mean, his whole governor campaign was basically, ran off the way he says California. Like one of my biggest regrets today is that I don't have one of the T-shirts from that campaign. Actually, like I wish that I had one. But like they probably go for $1 million.
It never should have worked. Like him running for governor, like it shouldn't have. But he wanted it more than anybody else.
Yeah, and he did a really good job for the.
I thought so. At the end, he was rough at the beginning, but then when he figured out he really did have to compromise, he started doing some fair compromise, and he did a lot more for the environment than I think people give him credit for around California. So, I mean, I'm not a Californian, but just a jealous Floridian.
Oh God, I'm looking up Arnold for president shirts.
Right.
Oh man.
Yeah, Stallone Schwarzenegger for president.
Yeah.
2024. I'll vote that ticket.
Yes.
I mean, I think we all would at this point. And we don't talk politics on this show, but that's okay because it's Arnold.
Yeah,
like, that's my one caveat.
That's not politics. That's the good stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just hopeful.
So, like, what do we think is next for you guys? I don't want to be that person. I know we just jumped right into it, but after all the Arnold talk and like what's next, like what's coming, like what do you see? Where do you guys want to see yourself now? Because my BKFC question was literally a employment question. I just wanted to mask it by asking if you liked it or not.
Well, I guess I'll try and be useful, as Arnold says.
There's 7 tips to that. You better read them all. Oh, man.
Well, luckily I have a sugar mama doctor that I'm married to, so it gives me a little bit more leeway than some of the other people have. As far as my future in the sport, I'm not entirely sure. I was not offered anything at PFL.
Which is bullshit.
They came out and they made some statements about everyone at Bellator would be offered a job. That was not entirely true. A lot of people at Bellator had different job codes. It was, did you work directly for Bellator? Did you work for Viacom? Did you work for a contractor that Bellator hired full-time people from? And so therefore you were technically full-time with a contractor. A lot of people at Bellator fell under those second two. You either worked directly for Viacom or you worked for a contractor that Bellator used most of its full-time people through. Nobody in those second two buckets got offered things. Okay, only the people that were full-time that worked directly for Bellator, which I'm absolutely happy for all those people that got offers.
They're awesome people.
But I will, and I'm not going to name names, but I will say that there were full-time people that worked directly for Bellator that did not get offers, and that person doesn't sit right with me either. So
No.
There were statements made about people getting offers. It felt like a twisted statement to begin with, and then untrue at the end. Anyway, on top of that, if I'm being honest, the person who runs the Cutman at PFL is a person that I fired from Bellator because he cost a fighter from SBG a fight on national television, and so I had to let him go at the request of a coach.
Yeah.
Okay, and not only the request of a coach, but the request of a few other people whose names have been thrown around today, like Mike Hogan, who said, "Why the fuck is that person working for us?" Well, that person is now the head Cutman at PFL. So not exactly a place I want to go.
Wow, that just opened up a whole new can of worms. Oh,
yeah. So not really interested in UFC myself. And it's not like I've even been invited. Don't even know if I could get in there if I wanted to. But I don't see much of a future for myself at PFL at this point in time. I have no idea what Bellator looks like in the future now with Mike Hogan taking over. I would certainly, if they approached me, I would certainly listen to anything they have to say. I love all of those people, but at the same time, I don't expect that approach, I guess is what I'm saying. So for now, I started a tape business for all the Cutmen out there to use that is way better than anything you're using, I promise, and it's half the price.
I love that all of us have our shameless plugs on.
Yeah, shameless plug. So as far as my future in the sport, like actively working as a Cutman, I don't think that there is much of one at this point in time, to be honest. But my future in this sport, actively trying to help out coaches and fighters and promoters, like on the tape side of things, and trying to at least make a little bit of a difference there. Like that's something I will try and do.
And I almost want to say that's as important, because the safety of the fighters is what we all want. It's the same thing we all want. Watching some of the bare knuckle fights, I'm like, dear God, that man's gonna be ruined for life. And 2 weeks later, you're like, wow, he looks fine. But what somebody released concussions and brain damage per sport, and BKFC was coming in lower, and I was like, yeah, because you can only take so much punishment.
Yeah.
But I love that you're like, even just something like simple, I'm gonna say simple like tape, but it's important.
Yeah.
You're not doing that right. How many times have you seen stuff hanging off a fighter and they're sitting there looking at it and they get kicked in the head? They get punched in the head, they get taken down because they're looking at something.
Yeah, it's distracting, and it can rake an eye. It can do quite a few things. But it also, if it's doing that, it's not doing anything worthwhile inside that glove to protect your hand either. I mean, and then I started the company with another Bellator Cutman named Craig Nasello, and then one of our European Cutmen over in, maybe I shouldn't call him European, he's English. They left the EU.
Yeah, I know.
One of our English Cutmen, Simon Haslam. And we basically were like, guys, like, these other tape companies are charging this much. They're charging $5 to $8 for a 9-meter roll, which that means it takes 2 rolls to wrap a set of hands. I got to use 1 roll per hand. So that's going to cost me at a minimum like $10 to wrap a set of hands.
Just for tape. That's
just for tape. Yeah, no gauze included. So you look at that premium tape, and that's the tape you want. That's the protective tape. That's the good stuff, right?
Yeah.
Or you look at the stuff that you can get online that's plain white, that doesn't stick, that hangs out of your glove, and it's $1 a roll. Yeah, well, if I'm a poor coach, right? I'm a poor fighter. We all know that, like, half of them like have gear deals just because they can't even afford their own gloves, for God's sakes, because we don't pay them enough, right? Yep. They're going to go for that $1 roll. Because because even though it's crap, it's the old thing, like it's expensive to be poor, right? Can't afford to have your teeth taken care of, that cavity, now you're going to need a root canal later. It's expensive to be poor. And we recognize that the same thing applied to like safety equipment. So when we realized that the margins were there, it's not that they had to charge that much to get premium tape. It's just that they were just doing it because they could.
Yeah.
And we went out and we made a better tape and we charged half the price. It's like, if I can still make money charging half the price, then you were ripping everyone off.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the motto of our company. Everyone else was ripping you off. Yep.
So they offer larger rolls of tape for a lot cheaper.
Yeah. So instead of $5 for a 9-meter roll at your Roy, you can get a 13-meter roll for $2.50.
And do both hands.
And do both hands. So it's really $1.25 a hand instead of $5 a hand. And I think that's a lot more palatable if you're a fighter that's fighting, twice a year at 10 and 10, and you're giving up 20 to 30% to managers and coaches to begin with.
Yeah.
And so safety shouldn't, we say it around your Roy, safety shouldn't rely on your income bracket. You know what I mean?
Man, you guys like literally have the best slogans in the world, because you're a tape company and you said, we won't rip you off. I was like,
Exactly. Yeah, we like our puns at your Roy.
Yes.
But I'll let AJ, I kind of cut you off. What's next for you in the sport?
Oh, I mean, I don't know. Like, I have a full-time job. I'm a professor at a college, and I enjoy doing that.
You are.
I know I am. What?
At Beacon College. Like, we got
yes, at Beacon College, here in Leesburg. And obviously, I love doing that. I'm an IO psychologist for a consulting firm. I do that part-time, working with thought leaders and consulting firms and stuff. So that obviously keeps me really busy. As far as like staying as a cut person, like I'll just kind of see what comes along, right? It just depends. Karate combat is always
cut person.
Cut person, cutlet. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
No, it's weird because it's
not. Can we call it a cutlet?
I like
cutlet. I just came up with that. What are you? I'm a cutlet.
I'm a cutlet. I like that.
That's gender neutral. Gender neutral. You heard it here, folks. We started a revolution right here on the Quiggin Out Podcast. We're calling
my God.
I'm going to add that to my profile.
Yeah, I'm a cutlet.
I think we all should just add cutlet. People are like, the what?
What is that? What are you talking about?
Like I said, somebody will get upset about that, and we're not making fun of anything. But at the same time, cut man just sounds normal. Cut woman just sounds weird because we're not used to it.
It does. It's not as.
And then cut person just sounds like you're a butcher who couldn't make it through butcher school.
Well,
so
I think it even sounds weird when we go over to England. They pluralize cut. They say cutsman. They say, "Oh, you're a cutsman," and I'm like, I guess. I don't know. It sounds weird to me, but sure, I guess when in Rome.
They like to pluralize things.
Mass. Yeah, instead of mass. Well, there's more than one. I asked about that.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, you got me there.
Yep,
there is more than one type of math, I guess.
Well, in that case, then, non-fight related, even though you were over there for fight stuff, like, what's the coolest thing you guys have been able to do on one of those trips besides watch Royce bastardize pasta with cheese? I'm never going to forget that for the rest of my life.
I mean, we watched Fyodor Emelianenko cry at the Vatican.
Yeah.
I don't think he would be embarrassed that people know. He's a deeply religious man, and he's always like, the man wept at the Vatican. He was moved. That was pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
I mean, not cool, but like, whoa. You don't normally see that from him. Yeah, powerful. Especially coming from him, somebody that kind of has an aura.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh,
You
he's
know,
outside my house. I'm
yeah.
dead. Bye.
Well, that's on you. Take him. I'll tell you what. The man loves Red Lobster. You
Yeah.
go, and
Yes, he
you're
does.
set. Red Lobster or Olive
And Olive
Garden.
Garden. He loves those two
Really?
things.
That is something I've learned about people coming to the United States is they love our chain restaurants, and Olive Garden and Red Lobster are at the top. Like
Yep.
like Russians, Ukrainians, anybody from Europe other than maybe like honestly Ireland or England. They come over here, they want to. Well, Italians definitely, they're just the different. Like Italians
Yeah,
don't like
I mean,
it.
they're like
It's
Olive Garden.
not Italian. They're like, is it Italian? And you'll be like, no. And they're like, it
No.
sucks. Or they'll just claim that Italian invented it.
Yeah. In Italy, it's better.
You'll be like, McDonald's, Italians invented that. 2 arches. Look at it. It's us. That's. And I say that because we have a heavily Italian European ops team. So
they're all fantastic.
They're all fantastic. Gaia and Paolo and all those guys. Yeah. But there is a lot of ball busting that goes on. For sure.
I mean,
I would say watching robots fight in Japan.
We went to the robot show in Japan. What district was that in?
I can't remember.
Shibuya, I think.
I think so.
Yeah, it was kind of famous. We heard about it online, and it was everything it was cracked up to be because I was high as shit.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I took a really heavy edible before I went in there that I brought with me to Tokyo. Hoist was there. I'm pretty sure Hoist figured out I was on an edible by the end because I was cracking up at what I was seeing. He was like looking back over his shoulder like, what the fuck is this guy's problem? Like, that's not that funny.
But it was a really cool show. If you ever are in Tokyo, I would highly recommend. And it wasn't that expensive. Like, I would highly recommend that.
Oh no, yeah, it was super cheap. It was kind of like going to like a medieval times.
But with
robots instead of
robots in Japan.
Yeah, in Japan. So
I mean, that sounds great. Like.
Yeah, that was a pretty good. I'd forgotten about that actually. We got to go to the Louvre. I mean,
yeah, that's awesome.
Like, we got to get a private tour of the Colosseum and the underground parts and everything. Those were all things that we definitely got to do because Viacom and Bellator, arranged them. We had that. I mean, we got to get drunk with John Kavanaugh on a golf cart tour of Rome.
Yes.
We were on this tour together. And they say, they're like, we're gonna stop at like a little store, the wink wink that we're cool with, and you guys can pick up drinks if you want to drink on the thing. And John went in there and got a bottle of Black Label, and he came out and he just there was no choice. He just started passing it around. Everyone we were all going to keep passing the bottle until it was gone.
Yep.
And that's what we did. And so we definitely had some good times like that. I'll miss being able to make new ones for sure.
Yeah. But very grateful for those ones.
Yeah.
I think it's very early in that stage of the whole hostile takeover. We don't know.
It wasn't hostile. Bellator was going to be. So I saw rumor. There were a lot of people on a lot of forums that nailed a lot of things. I was like, you motherfuckers are right. I just can't say so. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna type. No, I can't do that.
Yeah. Just gonna click the upvote button, maybe. Let you know in my own little way. Because there, I saw rumors online. People basically said that hey, Bellator. I was told early in the summer, Bellator either has a buyer by December or it just goes away. You know what I mean? And that way, and I saw that on forums later, and I was like, they are not wrong. Whoever heard this heard it from somebody that knows. Because they're correct.
They're right.
You're like, it wasn't me.
Yeah, it was not me. But I was surprised at some of the stuff that people got right. You know what I mean? And there were definitely times I saw people just guessing. I don't know. I don't know what you guys think it could be this. Actually, you're right, sir. I'm not. You are wondering exactly what it is.
Anonymous user writes, "You are absolutely right, sir."
Yeah, I'm like, man, how are they? I was kind of curious. I'm like, did I say something? Holy shit! Who are they getting this from? Who have I been talking to? Because even today with the announcement of Mike Kogan taking over Bellator operations, that was something I've been hearing about for since the sale, essentially. Whether or not he's very successful outside of MMA. So I think it was them courting him more than.
Yeah. I mean, he owns 2 successful gyms.
Yeah, and he's a successful manager. Like, he's still Royce Gracie's manager, if I'm not mistaken, or he was.
Yeah.
I think he only stepped aside when Royce himself was signed with Bellator. So.
Yeah. But
Jeez.
yeah, he's a successful.
And again,
manager,
being in the community, I didn't even see that announcement today. Didn't even see it.
Oh yeah, dude, I'm sorry. Yeah, so Mike Hogan is the new Scott Coker essentially for Bellator Sports Worldwide.
Bellator Sports Prestige Worldwide.
Yeah, Prestige Worldwide. Fights and hoes, I guess.
Yeah.
Please tell me you're writing down all these catchphrases, because I mean,
well, you're recording it. Do I need to?
Yeah, we'll
so.
I'm gonna see it on a T-shirt next week and be like, "Son of a bitch!"
They got us.
Damn it!
They got us on Alibaba already.
Yeah.
Like, they already ripped us off.
Well, guys, I really appreciate you coming on. Like, it's been a journey. I'm like I said, I'm excited to see what's next. I want to see the company thrive. I definitely appreciate you guys, repping the gear, because I know you didn't do that on accident.
Yeah.
I too live in Florida. I know it's not cold enough for any of us to be wearing one of these, but
I don't know what you're talking about. It's so cold here. It's only 60 degrees out.
That is for real.
Yeah.
But it's it's super exciting, just because like it has been a journey, and all the support over the years. Like, I really appreciate you guys. And
yeah, we've appreciated you, man. Real fans and appreciative fans can be hard to come by, for sure.
Yeah.
And then to go from being a fan to being friends, that's been even better.
Yeah.
So we appreciate you.
I need to make that drive. I know it's an hour and a half.
It's a long. We live in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. And there's
no, it's okay. I mean, I live on the other side of the state. It's my fault. But definitely we'll have to make something happen soon. Just because like it's been too long, and now I don't like to ever say life's getting back to normal, because there's no normal, and
what's normal?
I hate the term new normal. I hate the term new normal. There's pre-COVID, COVID, and post-COVID. That's our timeline now. Like,
exactly.
I agree, and we are definitely in some post-COVID. Right now. Things are weird.
Oh yeah,
they're really weird.
But we'll get there.
Personal space has disappeared again, so we're back to that where like you turn around and you're like, oh hi, reaching over my shoulder to grab something at the store. Like, what? I miss the days when you would stand as far away from me as possible because I, sniffled or like cleared my throat.
I miss that. Like the other day, I was in the store and people were coughing and sneezing, and I was like, "Oh, come on! Now I know you got a mask at home somewhere. Like, I mean, if you're sick, put it on.
Yeah.
You're sick.
You don't have to otherwise.
Yeah, I'm not saying like you gotta do it to protect yourself from me, but don't give me the flu.
I don't want to get sick.
Think about like pre-COVID. You saw somebody in a mask with this, like in a store with a mask, and you'd be like, "Oh, they're being
the
smart."
flu. Or they were Jason Herzog, one or the other. So, like, that man pioneered wearing masks on planes, and then COVID just
masking up.
Yeah. So, but we appreciate, and the push and the pump that you've given us in the past, and I mean, like there's not a lot of people that ask Cutman to come on the podcast, you know what I mean? So like we definitely appreciated the fact that you even give a shit what we do.
No, not just Cutman, but Cutman who aren't Stitch. And yes, I went there.
Sorry. We really appreciate that you have cutlets on the podcast.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
There you go. So, thank you from the cutlet community.
Yeah.
The bottom of our cockles.
We appreciate you.
The cockles of the cutlet community commend you.
Right here.
So, thank you.
Well, talk a little bit more about the brand. Where can people get the stuff? Because YOROI-tape.com. Nobody knows how to pronounce it. That's okay. It's YOROI tape.com. Yoroi is Japanese for armor, which is why we went back, because we were like, well, that's a good name for tape, armor, right?
We went with dragons as our logo, and you see a lot of our marketing has to do with dragons. And the reason we did that is just because we think they're cool. We were drunk and we were throwing stuff around in the group chat. And we're like, I don't know, dragons, and we were like, fuck yeah, dragons. And so that's where Roy got dragons from. So please go to uroytape.com. We have some interesting marketing now. Please give us some feedback. We're trying out some like fighter packs, some individual packaging style changes, maybe trying to create like an unboxing experience for, a cut man. So anybody that even wants to go look at it, email us and tell us if it's stupid or not. Please feel free. But I really wish you'd buy something instead. And we're definitely right now. Yeah, right now is a good time to buy. We're running a promotion called 12 Months of Christmas. And that is anybody that buys at least one box of 12 rolls of tape from your Roy between now and the end of the year. I'll put you in a contest. No limit to the amount of entries, just per box. And you'll win a box a month for the next year. So if you're a cut man, that'll just about cover you. That's 12 wraps a month that you'll be covered just with your Roy tape for free, just for buying one box.
Yep.
So it's worth a shot, and you get to try out a premium tape at a discount price. So
yeah,
and please buy my tape.
Knows what they're doing.
Yes, buy from somebody who knows what they're doing.
So, and if you do buy my tape and you tell me my box sucks, I will write you back and tell you that I absolutely agree with you.
We're working on
and we're working on it. So,
sorry,
don't bust my balls. Yes, the box sucks, but the tape is phenomenal.
Yes.
And it is the only tape, if there's a cut man out there listening to it, you're going to want to hear this part. It's the only tape that we individually package. So each tape is individually packaged so that when it inevitably sits in that hot warehouse that every tape has to sit in, when you get it, it won't be stuck and all crusty and like hard to pull and like hard to lay down because it was protected from the heat and the humidity by being individually packaged. So that's one thing that we do that nobody else does that I'm really proud of. And that alone, I think, is worth the price, especially since the price is so low.
Cheap already.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not
even
going to because there's a cool dragon logo.
Yeah, it's really cool. And if you don't like dragons, I mean, like you can use our tape, but like change your life. Maybe reconsider dragons.
Change your life. I don't know. I'm sure I've explained this before, but like my logo, the way I explained it to the guy, I was like, years and years ago, I was with my best friend. We were at Walmart, and I was playing the claw machine, and he just called me Frankenclaw. And it just kind of stuck with me, and then it became Frank and Quig. And there was a band, The Devil Wears Prada, that had a shirt, and it was something similar to this creature that you see on the screen. And I showed the guy the picture. And I was like, I want it to look like that, but jujitsu.
Nice.
And then he sent me the picture, and the guy had a black belt, and I was like, oh, this is gonna piss somebody off.
Nah, it's not you.
And I said, you know what?
I said,
but if he had a white belt, it wouldn't look cool. I was like, the black belt looks cool. So
yeah. Honestly, it kind of reminds me, and this is going to date me a little bit, but I don't know if you remember a book and a movie with Howie Mandel from a long time ago called Little Monsters. And it kind of, he always reminds me of Howie Mandel's character in Little Monsters with the horns on the side. So,
oh, it's perfect. When he drew it, I was like, that's the one. I was like, that's the thing right there.
Yeah.
But
so, these things, but when they're right, they're right.
Yep.
And like I said, for you, Roy, it was like, I don't know, dragons, and like everybody agreed to it drunk, so we knew we'd like it sober.
That should be a slogan too. If we agreed to it drunk, we've got to...
Tape so good, you'll love it sober. There you go. You'll like our tape drunk, but you'll love it sober. We can just work copy here on the podcast the rest of the time.
A fight tape that won't.
Yeah, right.
Oh God, I've been watching old Arrested Development episodes, so now I've got a bunch of Joe-ism stuck in my head, and that's what I'm going to call them because you only watch seasons 1 through 3. I cannot and will not watch the last 2 seasons. I won't do it.
Yeah, it gets a little awkward there at the end, but
I mean, it got really awkward the first. I remember sitting waiting for Netflix to release season 4, and I stayed up, and I'm like, I'm gonna watch this, and I was like, I wish this had never happened.
Yeah. I was afraid the same thing was going to happen with Karate Kid.
Yeah.
And luckily, it did not. But I will always forever be thankful for Arrested Development giving us that. It's one banana, Michael. What can it cost? $10. Like if I don't use that line at least once a day, you know.
There's-
So like,
Hey, there's always money in the banana stand.
like two couple bad seasons on Netflix, you get a pass for that line.
Yeah.
Like you gave me that.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, I'll take a moment. And so I always keep this part for the sponsor part. You know, La Barba Cubana, amazing beard care, Fat Boy Jiu Jitsu out of Orlando, BJJ gear.
Yeah, I love Fat Boy Jiu Jitsu. They're definitely from the bar there. Yeah. Well,
awesome.
he supports Fight Night, and I've trained Fight Night's cutmen. Actually, Justin Henslin, who used to be one of their champions. Fat Boy Jiu Jitsu is a great brand for anybody listening. Please by all means. He's a great example of somebody who got in shape too.
Yeah.
So.
And Juan was on the show, episode. God, now I'm gonna forget. It wasn't episode 49, but I had Juan on the show, and it was so cool because I was like, in one moment, I was like, "Wait, what's your name again?" Like, I completely because I was just like, "You're Fat Boy Jiu Jitsu, like that's who you are."
That's your name.
Yeah, that's you. That's you.
Now I'm gonna feel bad.
So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your sponsored call outs, but I just wanted to double up on that one.
Oh no, when did I have one? Oh my god. Now I'm like freaking out. I'm like, wait, when was
I remember seeing him come up whenever you had him on and being like stoked on that. I was like, oh, that's so cool.
67. So 67. A lot closer than I thought it was. There's been a lot more time in between the episodes because like I was saying, I was like, you know, you have those months where you're like, I can book everybody. And then you have those months where you're like, nobody's coming on the show.
Yep. Yeah. Same in the fight game.
Yeah. It
shows everyone takes the fight. Some shows no one wants to take the fight.
And then to round it off, you know, Tim_makes knives on Instagram, Bertzo's Bake Shop, amazing bake shop in Orlando. If you're that way, which you guys are way closer than I am. So Tales of a Concert Junkie, one of my absolute favorite brands. There's a promo code Quiggin Out. A lot of their shirts are like mental health driven. So like the one I'm wearing now is more a death cab shirt, but you know, it's Follow You in the Dark. It's one of their artist series.
Nice.
But I love the attachment to mental health and kind of promoting it in a way that like music is therapy. Music is
absolutely
something that can like get you through stuff. So you go over there, you know, promo code Quiggin Out should still work. I think it gets you 15% off your order, but just check out their stuff. It's cool. And then I don't know if the Rev Gear one still works, but Rev Gear, if you're listening, hopefully it works. Go over to Rev Gear, use that promo code Quiggin Out, get a discount off their stuff too for any training gear. But right now, your Roy tape is where you need to get your stuff from because these guys, you know, there's a lot of people who in your situation. I mean, you were with Bellator for how long?
12 years. It was my 12-year anniversary with Bellator this past October, actually.
Jeez. So 12 years of your life, and then it's just that's
gone.
It.
Yeah,
and
by text actually. By text. So I was notified via text that my Bellator career was at its end. But hey, man, I wouldn't want to make that phone call either.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't want to make that phone call either. But like, you know what? The text, you could be like, "You're an asshole." Okay.
Yep. Because you know what? I would have yelled at me if I would have made that phone call. So I wouldn't want me to yell at me either. I've watched me yell at people. Yeah. So. I get it, but yeah, it's an ending, but you know, new beginnings too. I guess to sound cliche.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we could have one cliche in this, you know, rubber baby buggy bumpers. Like, what do we?
Well, then we'll end with "I'll be back." I'll be back. Then, yeah.
The "I'll be back" that wasn't even supposed to be "I'll be back." It was supposed to be "I'll be right back."
Yeah.
I will be back.
I will be back.
I love what Arnold said there. He goes, "I think the line is wrong." And Spielberg said to him, "Are you a director? Oh, then don't tell me how to fucking direct."
That's right.
But the line was wrong.
Yeah, the line was.
The line was wrong.
No, the line was correct. It was written.
It was written wrong.
No, it was written. "I'll be back." He wanted to say "I will be back."
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like he was in the movie for what, 21 minutes? Like it wasn't a lot.
Yeah, no, it's a tiny amount. Yeah, but who cares? It was perfect.
Yeah,
21 perfect minutes.
But well, on behalf of myself, Combat Press, like I've been thankful to you over the years. The Michael Chandler story I have told on here, you know it well, so we'll just leave it at that because I don't know if we're allowed to talk about that now.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I don't know.
I know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was funny.
But no, we appreciate you, Matt. We appreciate all you've done for us over the years, and I mean, we hope that this isn't our last hurrah, but if it is, we were happy you were in the corner the whole time. So
no, I'll be watching what you guys are doing, and I'm sure you'll keep me up to date on it as well. Even if you are, what was it? Was it Blues fans? St. Louis Blues fans?
Yeah, I'm seeing their record. We don't need to bring that up.
Listen, the Lightning aren't doing so hot either, but I'm still going to support them until I'm dead to ground because we still have those championships, so it's okay.
Wow. Fuck you.
That wasn't a dig at you.
Wow. Okay.
And I'll never forget that on Facebook. I was like, why am I seeing all these Blues posts? And you were like, you just like commented a picture. I was like, oh, that's why.
Well, that's always sometimes I get asked like, hey, what's your favorite MMA's your favorite sport? And I'm like, you mean hockey?
Yeah. So. I got to the point where I'm watching like other teams play.
I watch it comes on. I think it's. I have it with my Hulu and Paramount bundle or whatever, and so I just now they're just always on. I can see all the games.
Yep.
So that Sharks Red Wings game the other night, they scored 6 goals in 3 minutes and 1 second. I was like, that was ridiculous.
And honestly, the fights on the ice over the last month have been pretty great too. Like it's like everybody's learned how to fight or something. They're like, everything's going crazy. The hits have been phenomenal. Yeah.
And I'll plug one guy in particular, Tanner Janot.
Oh well.
I watched him fight, and I'm like, dude, that dude knows how to box.
Like, get that dude in a cage, right? Yes.
I'm like, that's what's up. So, well, again, on behalf of myself, Combat Press, and truly, like, thankful for 2 people like you guys because we're people who probably wouldn't have crossed paths any other way. Given the distance and given what we're doing, but I'm thankful for that. So I know
that's the great thing about MMA. That's what it does.
Yeah,
you never know who you're going to talk to. Listen, one of the highlights of my life was getting to interview Ensign Inoue when he was in Japan.
Nice.
And we're talking for like 2 hours, and I'm like, okay, it's 12:30 at night. I know it's 10 a.m. there, but I'm tired.
I gotta go, dude. I got fanboyed out when I saw him myself. I
had to hold it back. Listen, if you go back and watch episode 25, I interviewed Sherman Augustus, who was on Into the Badlands and who was on Stranger Things.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, I have the Chinese 5-ring broadsword. You want to see it? I lost my shit. Are you kidding me? Yes, I want to see that.
See it. Don't ask stupid questions.
I was like, come on now. But again, thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate the time. And everybody go buy their stuff because these aren't 2 people who are just like get rich and trying to come up with some scheme.
We're not charging nearly enough to get rich at all.
No, that's the point.
But you're somebody who for at least the last 12 years there, if not more, with all the background that you guys have, you're trying to keep people safe.
Yep.
And I think that should be highlighted. And, that could change the sport one step at a time. Next we need to get the gloves because that's a whole nother.
Yeah. Well, the biggest step that's been made in gloves in recent history was made by a Bellator cutman. It was Dean Lassiter. Dean Lassiter was the one that went to Everlast and said, hey, guys, I think we should do this. And then Everlast went, you're right. And now Leone makes whoever is going to buy the Bellator PFL, no, but Leone was making them. But it all started with Dean Lassiter in his garage. The dude is like a cutman inventor, And so like it really is. It's the cutman. If we're talking about safety, the cutman should be who is designing and innovating this stuff, not the person looking to get the lowest bid.
Yeah.
With the highest profit margin.
I mean, cutmen are in there. They know.
There's a lot of people that talk about fighter safety that don't actually pay any attention. So we're trying to change that a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, we got deep in that last like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like that's the best part of the show right there. So again, thank you guys, and we'll have to set something up soon in the next couple months. I know the holidays are crazy, but definitely need to make our way over there and
absolutely
make something happen. So thank you guys again, and
thank you, man.
Have a great night.
You too.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, don't forget to hit the subscribe, little bell, keep you up to date on all things Quiggin Out. Thanks again.